career guys and several from the call fire department. Everybody's kind of interested in what's happening. Change always brings a lot of questions and a lot of uncertainty, but I think this is the way this is presented and the way this will move forward. I think this is good for both the town and the department. Basically, what I'm asking for at the town meeting next week is an increase in my budget to extend the hours of the fire department when it's staffed with career firefighters. Currently, we work, most of you may know, we work Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. We have 11 holidays off a year, and we have all the weekends off. So I've been concerned, the department's been concerned for several years about coverage in the town and how things are working on certain times of the day to get a truck out the door in a timely response. So my budget includes that increase. The goal basically is to improve deployment times of that initial apparatus, that first truck on scene. 99% of the calls, 98% of the calls can be handled with one truck. 3 or 4 guys can go in and take care of an automatic alarm at Quarry Hill. They can take care of a minor car accident if it's a spill, connect the batteries. Those type of calls. So most of those stuff can be handled without. My total budget for the year that I'm requesting is $815,000. That's roughly a 9% increase over last year's. So with that money, I hope to, again, improve our deployment times of the initial apparatus. Some of the requirements to do this, I need the approval from the Board of Selectmen to submit my FY 2016 budget. They approved it. They approved it back in March. It moved forward to the Appropriations Committee. The Appropriations Committee discussed a few of the options, a few of the ideas. They recommended it. So now our next step is to go to the town meeting next week, May 18th, for a favorable vote. Again, this is in my budget. It's not a separate warrant article. It's going to be discussed if it gets questioned, and at that point, we'll have a presentation to make and answer any questions that may come forward. After that, successful negotiation or agreement modifications between the Board of Selectmen and the permanent firefighters. They've been discussing their contracts up anyway, so they've been discussing moving forward with this. So it's in process. They won't finalize anything till after the town meeting. If it goes through, their hours of work changes, how they, in some of the other stuff, how they take their time off, and some training requirements. A brief history of the East Long Meadow Fire Department. 1962, the first full-time employee was hired, the fire chief. 1969, the fire department appointed 4 full-time firefighters. Basically what happened back then, and there's a couple in the room that were around, the town was concerned availability of call firefighters. They saw some changes going on. People weren't around during the day, so they decided to hire the 4 full-time firefighters, have them work Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. with weekends and the holidays off. Exactly how we are today. 1971, they increased that. They added 1 more additional firefighter. 1974, can anybody see that? Does that mess you up? Is that good? That works? If I turn the light off, does it mess your camera up?
No.
1974, they appointed 2 additional firefighters, bringing the total to 7 full-time firefighters, plus the fire chief. So that gave us 8, which is currently where we're at today. Staffing hasn't changed since then. We remain unchanged with 7 full-time firefighters. Basically, we cover 24% of the time. The rest of the time has been covered, 76% of it with call firefighter coverage. Call firefighters, anywhere the number floats between 25 to almost 30. The career firefighters also make up that number, so that increases it to anywhere from, say, 32, 33, up to 38. A bit able to respond if needed. The town's growth. Our population is up 21%. We have an increase of about 2,700 residents since 1975. 20% of the population in town is over 65. 17% is under 17. That gives us about a 37% of the most at-risk population in town. It's a good quantity to be concerned about. Our number of residential and single-family homes have increased 51%. We're up 1,806 single-family homes since 1975. It doesn't take anybody to drive through town that hasn't been here in a few years. Every year there's a new street, new development coming in. Slowing down a little bit now, but still, they're still putting them in. Our commercial and industrial properties have increased 99%. We're up 188 commercial industrial properties since then. That doesn't include the additional growth that Hasbro has seen, Milton Bradley. Doesn't include the additional growth that Lennox has seen. American Saw, that building's quadrupled at least in size since the initial, since that time. We have 158 condominium units. In 1975, there was 0. The town has seen construction of several elderly residential, independent, assisted living, and nursing home complexes. These include Quarry Hill, Inward Commons, Village Green. Those were all in the phases back then. But now we have Brownstone Gardens 1, 2, and 3. We have assisted living across the street where Bluebird used to be. We have Bluebird Estates over there, an independent living facility. Several nursing homes, Wingate, East Long Meadow Skilled Nursing Home. All of those are requiring service of the, response from the fire department several times a year. Some more than others, but that is part of our 20% of our at-risk population that we're concerned for. We now have a university in town. I wish I could say we've never been there, but we actually went there today for the first time. Fire alarm. They had a issue with one of the rooftop heating units. And fortunately enough, it wasn't a fire, but still, it's still a response. It's still during the day. We've accepted an additional 51% of streets, an additional 32 miles since 1975. And per Bob Parent, there is more that's just not accepted by the state and DOT yet. Some of them are just private ways, but the numbers have increased. Our real property assessed value for the numbers, guys, is up 930%. It's a huge number. The tax revenue that we're getting from the property values now have increased. Getting to the fire department. In 1975, we had 220 incidents. 2014, we had 535. Last year, we had 621 for the calendar year of 2014, and our numbers seem to be running above average now. It's definitely putting a strain on the department, and right now it seems like we've diminished a little bit, but we're still moving up. Number of firefighters has remained unchanged since 1975. Years ago, when Chief Wallace was in charge of the department, when he was before he retired, he was always concerned about the response time, getting that first initial engine out the door. So it's kind of him and I, and most of the upper guys on the department have always worked on some type of plan to move forward and get that response time down. Response time, as anybody can imagine, it's crucial, for a successful mitigation of any type of incident. Whether it be a fire, whether it be just an alarm activation, whether it be a car accident, somebody's entrapped. It's very crucial getting there and being able to mitigate it in a timely fashion. We define response time as the time when we receive the call from the police department. There's different ways of getting that exact deployment time, but for us, when we get the phone call, when we get the tone or the radio message from the police department, that's when our response time starts. If we don't know about it, we can't track it. So we define it as the time when the police department notifies us. We have a pretty good system of tracking now. Years ago, it was a little more difficult. We didn't have nice recorders and clocks that worked on a regular basis. So now our accurate time frame shows us where we are. NFPA, the National Fire Protection Standard, states the fire department suppression resources shall be deployed to provide the arrival of an engine company within 240 seconds, 4 minutes travel time to 90% of the incidents. That's the goal we're striving for, and when we work currently during the day now, we can do that 90% of the time. We can get that engine company on scene to most sections of town 90% of the time. Our call fire department coverage, that stretches where we float just shy of 10 minutes, getting that, and that's based on 10 years worth of department statistics. We're upwards around 10 minutes. Where it comes into play is the windows of 6 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock, and from 4 o'clock to 6 p.m., and some Saturday weekend days and holidays. Families are different now, but I'll go into that a little bit. That 10 minutes stretches to 11 or 12 minutes in response time. In 2014, we responded to 535 incidents. 232 of them were how we're currently staffed now. 43% of it was during current full-time operation. 57%, the rest of it was during call fire department operation. So we're picking up a pretty good piece of the pie with our current operation now. We want to get a bigger piece. Since 2004, the previous slide showed what it's been for the year FY 2014. Since 2004 to now, of 636,361 incidents, 41% of them are during current full-time operation. So the numbers are very similar. It was 43 for the year. This is over 10 years, it's 41%. So they're very similar. The department is currently staffed 2,000 hours a year, or 23% of the year. The rest of the time, 77%, we're staffed by call firefighters. In 2008, the East Long Meadow Public Safety Advisory Committee, which was put together after we had a serious fire in town, pushed forward to the Board of Selectmen that they increase the fire department hours of coverage. They believe that the option should be submitted with a goal to move towards 24/7. But they also suggested that the town implement a gradual buildup. If I were to walk into the town meeting and ask for $650,000 or more for 24-hour coverage, I'm not quite sure that would be found very favorable. My plan is to eventually get there some year, but and also doing that, we'd be hiring 9 brand new firefighters, and we'd have a really young fire department. I think what we need to do is grow the fire department slowly. So I go along with the suggestion that they made, implement the gradual buildup. Deciding what hours to cover. Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 is what we do now. We have some response time is shaky at best. So data collected indicates that if we were staffed in 2014 with full-time firefighters from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we would pick up 74% of the incidents. That gives us that window to make the first truck on scene within that average time of 4 minutes. It's an increase of 232 incidents within the year during the operation to include, from 232 to include 162 more. So our piece of the pie is almost 3/4. Now we're trying to get 74% of the coverage. The proposal would be Sunday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., including holidays. It would give us 84 hours of coverage a week for a total of 4,380 hours a year. That's an increase of 2,380 in hours of time that's not covered now. After approval at town meeting, the following steps would need to be taken. Hire the one additional firefighter, bringing the total full-time firefighters to 8. Split the full-time firefighters into 2 groups of 4 firefighters. Each group would work a 4-day cycle, the exact cycle to be determined through the board and through the union as far as how they want to manage their time. Each full-time firefighter would be paid on a 42-hour week based on a 28-day work cycle. And that's pretty typical to what a lot of the career full-time fire departments do in the area, the ones that work either similar to what we're requesting or the ones that work 24 hours a day. They may work more than 42 hours in 1 week, but if you average it out over the 4-week period, they're gonna end up with a 42-hour average work week. Federal and state regulations allow you to do that. Fair Labor Standard Act says it works. So it's we're looking to try and accomplish. The cost, everybody wants to know the money. The budget increase for the fire department would be $65,000, and that includes training for the new firefighter and any additional increases that may be sought because of the additional time the current guys are already working. It's an 8.7% increase over the current fiscal 15 budget that provides an additional 1,190 hours of coverage for half the year. Based on the increase of $65,000 an average, a homeowner with a value of $300,000 would pay an additional $12 a year on his taxes. In 2017, what we would do is continue the operation. The budget to increase would be $48,400, a 6% increase over that budget, and that would complete the process of making this move forward. And at that point, there would just be regular increases based on what the union and the Board of Selectmen negotiated. The time frame for this: the new firefighter will start with the department in October by attending the Massive Fire Academy. That start date is based on the academy. We'll have him start when the academy in Springfield starts. Once the new firefighter completes the 9-week academy, the new extended coverage will begin. This approximate date would be December 27th, give or take what week the academy starts. This time frame, everybody has asked me, why don't you just start July 1st? This time frame gives the Board of Selectmen, myself, and the firefighters a chance to make the necessary changes to the agreement. There's quite a few language changes in there when it comes to working a different shift and how you take your time off and minimum manning, minimum staffing. Also, it gives the town time to increase the budget and in a 2-year plan to lessen the impact, as opposed to just hitting them with $110,000 right off the bat. One of the concerns, and this is a big concern to the department, to myself, is the life of the call firefighters changed since 1974, and there's a couple guys in the room that were on as call firefighters back then. One of them was turned into a career firefighters. Most of the call firefighters now have dual income families. Employers are demanding longer work hours, along with higher productivity. They're not allowed to leave work. We have a couple call firefighters that actually work in town. Their employers don't allow them to leave work like they did way back when. We had a few. We have Captain Brian Falk in the back room. He worked part-time at a place in town, and he was able to leave often if he needed to for a call. So things are different now, especially in the workforce. And many families are involved in activities such as sports and different things that weren't around back then. Families are more family-oriented now. The commitment required of call firefighters to train and to respond has increased with expanding roles of the fire department. Years ago, we fought fires. We did some car accidents. Now there's a whole medley of stuff we're worrying about that we have to train for and be prepared for. And today's society is highly mobile, leaving many current and potential call firefighters unavailable. Saturday afternoons in the summertime, everybody's either going to the beach, they're going hiking, they're going out on their kayaks, they're doing different things with their families. It's a mobile society. In conclusion, I feel that, with the town growth, the changing demands on the call firefighters, combined with the department's history of response time, the town should pursue the hours of extending the fire department when it's staffed with career firefighters. I thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing your thoughts and your questions.
Long Meadow, what do they do for time? What's their
Response time?
No, for their staffing.
24. They're staffed 24/7.
Right.
They started out, and actually Captain Lohman was a member of their call fire department for years. 20-something years, Bob? 28 years. They started out with a pretty good sized call department, and they went to a career fire department, I think 1972, and they eventually grew more and more, and now they run the ambulance. They started out EMT, now they're paramedic level. They're a 5-man department. They try to keep 5 in there. I think they go down to a 4. So.
On that 42 hours, now mandate 40-hour work, is that 2 hours time and a half?
It depends on how the contract's negotiated.
Right.
It doesn't have to be.
Right.
Yep. Yep. Depends on how the contract's negotiated. Anybody?
Why 6 to 6 in that as opposed to like 7 to 7?
We ran the numbers. 6 o'clock in the morning is a scary time for us. The current call firefighters and the career firefighters are getting ready for work. Call firefighters are commuting to work. The career guys, they're getting their kids ready. With that dual income family, somebody's bringing them to daycare, somebody's waiting at the bus stop, and the same thing in the afternoon. A lot of the guys are either en route home. These guys, the career guys, are doing the same thing. They're leaving work, they're picking up their child at daycare. It's that window. Whereas 8 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night, everybody's back in town. People are home eating dinner. Tone goes out, you can go. Times have just changed a little bit. Ralph?
No, I think it's a good plan.
Appreciate that.
So, you're talking about Long Meadow back in the call department. I watched that decline in the call department. When I first got on, there was 30 guys.
Yep.
The less and less we were used, the more guys left. Are you concerned that the less and less we're used, that you're going to shrink the call department numbers and you're not going to have anybody left?
That's not my goal to shrink the department. I think you and I have talked a little bit about it. My goal is to keep the call firefighters as active as we can. Training's still going to be out there. There's still 6 to 6 that they're going to be needed, and there's going to be those calls in the daytime when the first engine company is going to be tied up, and we're going to have to put the call out. So
that kind of ties into my next question. Long Meadow, once again, has automatic response when you go to a high occupancy structure, Glen Meadow, high school, whatever. Automatic all-call. Is that in your plan?
we've talked briefly about it.
Just for staffing.
Yeah.
A real call.
Right. You get there and if it was an automatic alarm at Wingate, I'll use Wingate as an example, I would say we probably wouldn't based on the location, and if multiple calls are coming in, it's going to be an automatic all call. But for
They put an automatic first alarm assignment at any high risk structure like that.
we would have to pre-plan most of those, and it's not a bad idea. Yeah.
You respond during the day for like nursing home or whatever. What happens at night if there's an alarm? Does anybody respond to them?
Yeah, you're looking at it.
Okay.
Yep. I leave my house, the deputy leaves his house, we go directly to the scene. Captain Lohman, firefighter Hull, everybody, they come here, they get on the apparatus and they respond. That's how we go now. It's that's how the department's made up. That's how it's been since 1974. Yep. Again, Ralph Butler was a retired deputy chief from the department, and he I don't know if you correct me if I'm wrong. Times have changed since then, and
Definitely. But this is something we've been concerned with for a long, long time.
right, yeah,
It's been a problem for 40 years.
right.
More.
And to be honest with you, if you look at any industry or any organization throughout the country, and we're not volunteers, the call firefighters get paid. They don't do it to get rich, but they get paid. But volunteerism is down in any organization, any type of organization where you're looking for people to commit above and beyond their regular career or their families, and our motto, our policy, my hope is people, families come first, their career comes second, and then if they're called firefighter, then the fire department. There's been many a nights, you can ask my wife, many a nights you're sitting down to dinner and you got my father over, and next thing you know, the tone goes off, and she's having dinner with my father.
Many parties have been ruined.
Many parties have been ruined, right? But that's what we signed up for. I mean, that's what all of us signed up for, and we hope, that's what when it happens on Christmas and all those days that everybody comes out of the woodwork, and we have a great bunch of guys, and I want to keep it moving forward, and I think this plan helps lessen some of the burden for the call firefighters for those run-of-the-mill automatic alarm type of calls, those run-of-the-mill cat stuck in a chimney calls. So
we're talking 8 to 4 coverage now with all the changes that you're suggesting. We would have 6 to 6, we would have 12-hour coverage instead of 8-hour coverage.
correct. Yep. Peter.
Chief,
Sorry.
next presentation.
Thank you.
I had a quick question. Do you have a slide that has the historical overtime and what you project the future overtime would be? And second part of that question, Chief, would be, if someone calls in sick, do you have a tracking code that you're covering for an existing full-time day shift?
Currently,
Overtime? Yeah, do you
we
have a-
do.
Do you track that?
We
metric?
track sick time.
And do you have that slide available? So we see
It's not a slide. I can tell you, our department is very. We don't have any sick time abuse. We've been historically. If you look at some of these guys, they're over 200 days of sick time built up because we accumulate. Anybody that's been here, more than 10 years, it's up there. Those kind of numbers. It's just still negotiation phases with the union, but a good plan would be one man takes a day off, calls in sick for whatever reason. We go to a 3-man minimum. That still gets the first engine company on scene. 3 guys. A kitchen fire stays a kitchen fire. A bedroom fire stays a bedroom fire. They get there, and it's a fully involved house. It happens all over the place. Springfield shows up. It's fully involved. They got 24-hour coverage, stations every couple miles. We get there, 3 guys. It's water supply. It's size up. It's get ready. And if there's multiple calls coming in, there's no delay. Like Bob was talking about automatic. If there's multiple calls coming in for that call or a type of call, we're gonna put the call out. We got mutual aid. We got Springfield, Long Meadow, Wilbraham. We get the Connecticut towns that border us. I mean, that's got to be part of our run cards to backfill. As far as what the cost of overtime is, currently we spend about $105,000 a year on overtime, and the call coverage is about $55,000. It's a hard number to guess, and it's just going to be a guess to do this. We didn't change that number in the budget, and I would encourage that it doesn't change right now until we get a year or 2 under the belt and we see where we're at. If we're coming back and there's $20,000 or $30,000 extra in the budget every year, push that back that way. But if there isn't, potentially the calls that fit in those windows that we're covering, overtime wise, it was about $50,000 to $55,000 of time based on a single hour one call. And that's not counting that you're going to get there and it's going to be a multiple hour call and stuff like that. So it's hard to figure that exact number out. But tracking it, we're getting better and better at tracking that type of stuff.
So within the 65,000 incremental increase for
Yep.
this year's budget impact, is there a breakdown with the 3% for the call firefighters? Did that go through?
That went through.
So that's in the 65?
It's not in the budget because they didn't tell me it went through until after the budget was submitted, but that's in there. In the past, it's never been. That's $1,650. $1,650. So we can make that work.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then, I guess, do you know what the salary would be for the new firefighter that would be coming on?
off the top of my head, it's about 45 base pay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were to take 50, round it up, and then if you had 30% for health benefits, that's another 15,000, so you're already up to 70.
Yeah, health was in there. Health is upwards to 10,000, depending on if the individual is single, married, right from the town accountant.
Yeah, but from a budget though, I don't think you bill individual based on, you're in a pool.
Right, we're in a pool,
So it's like
but
30% rate.
no, we're in a pool, and we individual, because they pay 70% of everybody's coverage, and that doesn't come in.
I'd like to,
Yeah, that's a
If you could- if you
that's a
could
town
clarify
that's a town accountant question, but
yeah,
again, it was around 4,500 for an individual, and it's around 10,000 for a married couple with children.
sure.
And that was right from the town accountant. I asked her if there's anything else I need to worry about. Now that's not in my budget. That's because the health insurance and other benefits package are on another line item that the Board of Selectmen have. Right, Billy?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I don't agree with how they track that. But,
Yeah.
I'll go on to the next question. The response time, you said it was 4 minutes average?
Yep, just over 4, yep.
And do you track that by the seasonal time of the seasons that have bad weather?
We haven't got that,
So that's an
yeah.
average time?
That's an average time,
Because,
yep.
I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but it's 7 minutes to my house. And I did that from noon time yesterday on a Sunday. And I took Calendar Ave,
Yep,
assuming it's a truck that has to make a wide turn,
right,
and no one's parked on the side. But
right.
you're in the line.
But
response
what
time,
helps
you're not
what helps our average is not every car's. In Selectman Gorman, we made this comment at the meeting I presented this to. He's on the Hamden line on Allen Street.
Well, he's in my.
That's a poke. It is a poke. And to be honest with you, if we had 90% of our calls were in that neighborhood for the year, we wouldn't make that. If that was the case, what we would be talking right now about is a new fire station.
So
Relocating a fire station.
Okay, yep.
Um,
Wilbraham did.
Right. Right.
So my last question, Chief, would be, is there like a tiered rating system with the insurance company?
There is ISO. They changed the requirements, and they changed the grading system around. We are a 4.3 or a 4.4. I'll get that. I'll get a better number for you. But we are not the best, but we're far from the worst. And to be honest, to make those changes, to go higher, there are some volunteer departments out there that do it. They have 100 members on their department, and a lot of it is not only the amount of fire department you have, it's the apparatus you have, it's the spare ladder truck, it's the spare engine companies, it's the amount of training we do. And we do a ton of training, and we keep records on our training, which when we submitted all that information, that was great to them. Our water department is part of their grading system. The DPW has done a great job improving the water supply. They're actually talking about doing some hydrant testing this year to get the actual flows for us. So we're improving. Would it be great to pick it up a notch? Absolutely. Would this pick us up a little bit? Probably. It would get us closer to meeting that NFPA standard, which is what ISO asks for. And ISO is just one of the companies out there that does the grading.
Sure. And I do have one last question. The normal process in a budget is to have a standalone warrant article.
Yep.
I'm a little bit surprised that this didn't have like a standalone. Up or down vote.
I submitted it to the board, and the board, it was a supplemental, is what was requested from the Appropriations Committee. The Appropriations Committee got it, they recommended it, and I believe it was between the board members, the Board of Selectmen, and the Appropriations Committee, how it was presented to the town. Again, that was out of my hands. I gave them the option.
Just for transparency.
Yeah, right.
And it would help to have a rating slide, Chief.
Yep. Oh,
That shows historical ratings of the insurance.
yep. We can do
Where
that.
you projected it's gonna go.
Right.
I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna ask any questions next Monday, at the meeting, but,
Yeah.
I mean.
No, I can put that
I guess-
information in.
Is that your liaison, Mr. Gorman, right?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, not right now.
But, you know, for feedback for the selectmen, it would have been appropriate to have a standalone warrant
Yeah.
article.
One of the things that I thought somebody may do, and they still can, is when they're reading through the reading through the budget items, if somebody questions it, I will have a presentation ready if needed, and be able to answer questions with the board, and the board and the town accountant will be there for those other questions about the benefit packages and the other items like that. Mr. Oakes,
I don't see how it can go through without being questioned. I mean, somebody's
Right.
gonna question.
somebody's gonna question it, right?
Somebody's gotta be questioned.
Right.
We're gonna be ready for that.
Yeah, I will be. Yep.
Right now, you have a standard of number of your people in the station here.
Yep.
Changing the hours and shifting people around, what do you envision as being the average number of people that would be on site?
The average would be 4, most of the time. If somebody's got time off, you know, it gets it down to 3. If we get below 3, we'll bring somebody in. And we'll have members from the call department that can backfill, we have other career guys that can backfill. So that's, again, that's a contractual thing that they need to discuss with the Board of Selectmen to keep current. But 3 would be the minimum, 4 would be the standard to have out the door. And again, if most of the calls, that's plenty to handle the incident. It's when you get to those more in-depth car accidents, more in-depth fires, that you, even today, we roll out the door with 6 or 7. We're still, if it's a fire, you know, a true, you know, any type of fire, we're putting a tone out. If it's a car accident, we're gonna be tied up, we're putting a tone out for backfill, we're having guys come into the station cover. If we go mutual aid anywhere, it's automatic, people come in and cover for us, you know, the call firefighters come in and cover. So, 4 is gonna be the minimum, I mean, the standard, 3 is gonna be the minimum.
Will that cut down on your participation, responding to a mutual aid?
Will it cut down? Probably not, because we still we rely on them.
No, I'm saying you responding to somebody else.
No, we'll still respond, because, I mean, that's part of the mutual aid agreements, is that we, you know, we're there for them, they're there for us. We've used Long Meadow, we've used Springfield,
Call
what's that?
them. Just call them.
We'll just, I mean, just like we do now, if we're working during the day, and Long Meadow calls us, or Springfield calls us, we go, but we put the tone out, we bring our call firefighters in. And if it's a day that we're a little light on call firefighters, depending on what's going on, we can, if the call's in Long Meadow, we can call in Summers, we can call in Wilbraham or Hamden, or, you know, it's part of the system. No department Springfield's not big enough to operate without mutual aid. And their department's dwindled in size over the years, but even back then, they still called mutual aid quite often. Springfield just called the other night, mutual aid. So it's how the business works. Unless the communities want to give you, which I'm not asking for, but unless, you know, you want that much money to go to the fire department, we can't handle everything by ourselves, and neither can they.
So you, currently, we have a guy on the desk all the hours that we're staffed.
We won't
You're gonna dump the station.
dump the station.
Police
Yep.
are gonna dispatch?
Yep. Well, police are gonna dispatch, but we're gonna take care of, you know, our water, police department's not gonna do hydrants, they're not gonna do that type of stuff, and when we come back, they're gonna take care of the recording's got the times for our incident reports.
So you run pretty much like Long Meadow.
Right.
Tell you, 3 people scares me.
I understand.
Wouldn't you not consider just filling it with overtime, full-time, call-in?
Well, the overtime number is what we have to look at, and that's a hard number to budget.
That's scary.
Yeah.
I tell you, I hate to be on that company.
I can think of a Long Meadow call. You guys didn't know anymore. I couldn't go inside because they didn't have enough people. Yeah.
I mean, it happens in Wilbraham.
Right, but
Fire
it's,
chief standing in front of a building with no fire lights.
Right.
It's on fire. They're out with the ambulance.
right, but we're not running an ambulance.
Low staffing.
Right.
Another
But, I mean, it's the same difference here. If you could be at Bluebird Estates for a call with the engine company, and you get a house fire the other end of town, I mean, you plan for a certain level of preparedness. You can't plan for everything. Multiple events, multiple occasions, multiple stuff at once. Peter.
Regarding the collective bargaining agreements, do you have like a pro forma right now as to the impact cost-wise?
Cost-wise?
Yeah, like you said, there's some significant language changes, so do you have a rough budgetary idea?
The budget's pretty close.
Okay.
It wouldn't change, it's not gonna change thousands of dollars. The budget's pretty close. It should be a workable thing.
Right.
It's just, the board's trying to do their best, and the union's trying to do their best to make sure the coverage is right and the hours are right, and the board's trying to, provide the most information in a timely and, cost-efficient manner.
Chief, you also mentioned the slide there somewhere. You had the advisory committee, I forgot the
Yeah.
acronym.
Yep.
So did you convene that group?
I have not, I'm going off that same report.
Okay.
Yep.
It's got a little bit of shelf life on it, but I think the concept is the same.
Correct.
Because
The last time this was presented, from the public safety, Chief Wallace's, plan was seven men, per shift, very similar to what we run now. And he had his reasons, and, but the cost to get this project started, get moving forward, to have a truck in the building, ready to roll, 44 hours extra a week.
And the reason I asked that, Chief, is because it might be helpful to have another slide that shows the fully ramped up or the fully staffed coverage that you're ultimately trying to get to.
24 hours, seven days.
Yeah, whatever that
Number.
report says,
Yeah.
you should show another slide that says this is how we're getting it. And what that impact would be.
Police chief. Should have been here.
It's a fire.
What's that?
It's a fire.
Yeah. No, hopefully he's not calling on my cell phone to tell me there's a fire.
Before you got interrupted.
Yeah.
You know what we're talking about? I was asking
Oh,
about.
about that slide. I can put that number in there, with today's standard, today's pricing. It's, I did, when I was talking with the board, it was about a $550,000 number on top of what is presented here. So it's a huge increase to our budget to do 24 hours a day. But it's the right path to head.
But see, there's where you do a trade-off in comparison, that shows our insurance rate might go down X
Right.
amount of dollars. So you gotta show all these impacts, you got a lot of moving, cost targets.
Yeah.
And
I can-
You know, you're the professional.
I can bet if you called your insurance, homeowner's insurance, and asked them if the department's rated as a 4, and it's gonna change to a 3 or a 2, what's the savings on my homeowner's insurance? It's not gonna be
It's minuscule.
it's not gonna be a huge number. Is there gonna be the $12 that your $300,000 home is gonna go up? Maybe, but it's not gonna be. You're not gonna take your $800 a year homeowner's policy and knock it down to $400. That's not gonna happen, because that's a small piece of that pie. But I'll try and get some of that info. Yeah. Anything else? Brian? Mr. Oaks? Selectman Gorman? All quiet tonight.
One more time.
You haven't heard it 4 times, just twice.
We worked it on you through afterwards.
That would mean he'd have to turn his computer on. Oh, I guess that's it. I guess that's it for questions. Thanks everybody for coming. Members of the department. And I'll fine tune that a little bit, try and throw some of those slides in there to, provide a little more information,
Just in case.
yeah, yep. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.